Look at Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 9 through 10. Therefore, know that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments. He said, oh, you see, in order to be saved, you have to love God and you have to keep his commandments. I want to ask you a question. Where in the Bible does it say that salvation comes that way? Where you read that at? I read that you had to be circumcised without hands. I read that you had to be born again, which means created again. Does that sound like anybody can actually do that? Can anybody love God? No, man. How are you going to love God when you're dead in trespasses and sins? So that can't be a requirement for salvation. Why? Because nobody would ever be saved. The Bible makes it clear that we are all by nature haters of God. If you're a hater of God, how in the world are you going to love him? God is pointing out the impossible, friends. This is under the law. You can't love God. The Bible says no one loved God. I mean, I don't know. You really need to look and understand what you're saying when, and this is why it's important that you and I read the whole book because the Bible makes it clear how we felt about God. I mean, you just gotta see this right here. Now look, he says, "Hey, this is how salvation comes, and you, yeah, you and me. God did something. What did God do? God had to make you alive. Why? Because you and I were dead. Now you tell me, how in the world can a dead person love God and keep commandments? You can't. What was the problem? You had your own trespasses and sins. And notice, it's inside of those things. That's where you were. Again, it's all about location. It's nothing to do with what you do and what you say. Salvation is where you are. God takes you out of darkness and puts you into light. He takes you from death and puts you into life. You see? So be careful when you're reading the Bible that you don't read things into it that the Bible actually doesn't teach. Now, he's going to tell you how you were before he made you alive. In this word walk means live. How did you live? You lived according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air. Who is that? That's the devil. And you were a son of disobedience. Now, if you and I were sons of disobedience, how in the world are you going to love God? You can't. All you can do is disobey God. Why? Because you were born a son of disobedience. Are you keeping commandments? Of course you ain't keeping no commandment. You're a son of disobedience. Among whom, how many of us? All of us live like that. In the lust of our flesh. Were you worried about God? No, you weren't worried about no God. You were only worried about your own flesh, fulfilling your own desires. Listen, who said that? God said that. You were fulfilling your own desires of your own flesh. You were the most selfish rascal on the planet. So was I. And I did what I wanted to do in my own eyes. We're by what? Nature, children of wrath. How did you become a child of wrath? Because you started doing things? No, man. You were a child of wrath by nature, even if you didn't do some of the things you see other people doing. If you didn't say some of the things other people are saying. If you didn't go where some of the other people are going. What does that have to do with you being a sinner? Nothing. You are by nature. It's by your nature. Now, let me show you another one. And this is everywhere, folks. I mean, I can just go to book after book after book and show you this stuff because it's everywhere in the book. Now watch. Look at this. And God, again, is going to show you and I. He's pulling back the scene so that you and I can see ourselves before God saved us. Even as they, who's they? The sinners. Sinners are unbelievers. Let's call it that because everybody's a sinner. Unbelievers. What's wrong with the unbelievers? They did not like to do something. What they didn't like to do, they're not going to be thinking about no God. Who said that, Kevin? No, I didn't say that. God just told you that. So how is somebody like that going to love God? When they don't even like to retain God in their own mind. How is somebody like that going to obey God? Keep his commandments? This man ain't keeping no commandments. What does that kind of person produce? God gives them over. Who did that? God. God did that. What did God do? He gave them a debased mind. You say, what in the world is a debased mind? That's insanity, friends. Debased mind is a form of insanity. So what does that look like? That's look like you can't tell the difference between a man and a woman. That's what that looked like. I used to wonder sometimes, what did that look like? I know for sure now what it looks like. We got men dressing up as women and people saying it's a woman, knowing that it's a man. That's insanity. That's what God is talking about, a debased mind. And they do, it causes, this debased mind causes them to do something. What? Things that are not fitting in the eyes of God. It starts showing up in their behavior. Being filled, can they get anything else in it? Can anything else be there? No, they're filled with it. So can the love of God squeeze in? No, it can't squeeze in. They are already full. Can obedience squeeze in? No, obedience can't squeeze in. Why not? Because they are full. What are they full of? They are full of how much? All unrighteousness. So every single thing that they do in the eyes of a holy God is unrighteous. You say, I don't believe that. It doesn't matter if you believe that or not. What does that have to do with the truth? God said everything they do is unrighteous. You say, but they do some good things. They give to charities. They're a doctor. They heal people. They go around and help the poor and the homeless, put them in shelters and stuff. What don't you understand about all that they do? It's unrighteous in the eyes of God. What is it? Why do we have to now sit here based on what you see some dead, wicked sinner do, and you have to question what God said about that person? Simply because your mind can't wrap around the fact that we're all sinners. But you're going to question God about that. They're sexually immoral. God says they are wicked. God said we are all covetous rascals and we're malicious. Step on their foot and say, excuse me, one of them might slap you, pull out a gun and shoot you.